Chapter 10, OJ's episode. They caught me on my deathbed. This is OJ's quote. I didn't care about nothing after being shot 8 times. I just wanted to get out of the streets. I was diagnosed with diabetes 1 week and ended up in the hospital. The next week, I was shot 8 times, back in the hospital. They said to me, let me get you to these white folks. You see where all this is going? You're on your deathbed. Hold on, let me see what he did. They said to me, let me get you to these white folks. You see where this, you see, okay, this is still a quote. You see where all this is going? You're on your deathbed. Let me get you out the streets. I basically said in the hospital, all right, when I make it out the hospital after the shooting, I'm coming straight to the office to sign. And then when I got to the office on crutches, fresh out of the hospital, they presented me with the contract. I'm just so loyal. I said, I don't want to read this contract. Just show me where to sign, and I signed it. When I signed that contract, everybody in the office was crying. They were clapping. They were doing that because I'm paying their bills. I'm paying the office rent, the office lighting. I'm paying for everything. So they started putting the tears in there and all of that, knowing I'm signing the worst contract in my life. I never did an audit, but I got a lawyer involved. It started with the booking. $1.5 million in booking was being taken from me. And then from there, I got the lawyer to look up the sales of my album. From the sales of the album, it did 78,000 copies. This was during DVD times. Some of my albums came with a DVD. It was like $14.99. So me and the lawyer did the math and realized that money was taken. Back then, we also had ringtones. I'm getting money from ringtones. I made over $1 million in ringtones. And then Make the Trap Say A had a ringtone, and that was over $1 million of money that was taken as well. So in the midst of finding out all of that, I stopped working with the booking agent that was getting 50% of the show money. Then the road manager was taking 20% too. The security I was paying for, and I wasn't the one who hired them. The first album deal was for $250,000, and I got $10,000. The second album was for $500,000, and I got another $10,000. They gave Gucci $50,000. On top of that, the majority of the album was put out under my budget. I paid for the recording. I acquired the beats. Even if I paid $250 from Zaytoven for the beats, I'm buying the beats. I did all the engineering. I paid for the mixing. And all they did was take 4 to 5 mixtapes, pull off my best songs, and make an album. I paid for my notoriety. Zay even stopped effing with me. He thought I made hella money off the album. I had to show him the receipts. I didn't want to be creative anymore. And I didn't want anyone to manage me. I said, just let me go. She said, you want to be let go? Let me have the other side of the trap. To get away from them, I gave them my album, The Other Side of the Trap, for my life and 10 years after my life. That means I've got to die, and 10 years after I die, my kids can try to see if their dad had left them some money for the album. I said, oh, that's all you want? I can make plenty more songs. Not knowing these are my biggest records. I didn't really know the business. I felt played badly. Remember, that was a quote from OJ. So let's get into the book. January 18, 2025, OJ the Juice Man and I stood on stage together for the first time in more than a decade. But no one would have ever guessed that all of those years had passed. There's a certain bond that can't be broken when two buddies share a stage like that, knowing what it took to get there. The ups, the downs, the money, the empty pockets, the fights, the reconciliations. The crowd in Atlanta knew that something special was happening. I felt their energy as they chanted the lyrics to our song, Make the Trap Say A, as we performed it. It felt like a reunion of two brothers. It felt like a renaissance of Atlanta trap. But most of all, it felt like healing. Juice said in an interview once that he and I had been boys since Nintendo cartridges. And he's right. We were so young when we first met, but we focused on getting money. I was just a few years older than Juice, but I always looked at him like I was the bigger brother in the equation. I was always the big brother in the equation. When Juice and I were little kids cleaning up the grounds surrounding our project buildings and trading in the soda cans we found for coins, we didn't know where our lives would eventually take us. All we knew was that those dollars here and there were going to stack up one day and hopefully pay our way to the top. What the top was, we didn't even know back then. We just both wanted the same thing, to get out of our respective situations. Even as kids, we were that motivated. My music career took off first, but it wasn't because Juice was any less talented. I just burned up every hour of my day to slingshot myself right into the music industry. My urgency was different from his, not because of a different necessity, but because I was functioning with a brain that just wouldn't quit. And if I had one foot in the streets and one in the music, then Juice had his whole leg in the streets. But Juice was different. He was someone I could count on. He was supportive of me and showed me friendship. He stuck by me even through all of my mental health struggles. He gave me a roof over my head when I needed one, let me keep clothes at his house. For my part, I knew that no matter who I met in the music industry, I was going to introduce Juice to them. But as drugs entered the picture for me, it became harder and harder for Juice to have me around people. With lean, my mood swings, my violent switches, he didn't know if I was going to be cool to his other people or straight up rob them at gunpoint. It could go either way, honestly. When I look back, I see how that could be a liability for anyone. But I could rob 5 people and I could never rob Juice. I would only protect him, even when I was at my worst. I could spot talent, and I saw that in Juice. I saw how the bounce in his vocal inflections when he rapped almost became a part of the production, and how he was motivated to keep getting better and better. Juice had a style that was all his own. He had an East Atlanta sound with a global appeal, a real star in the making. That's a perfect combination in my book. I wanted to sign him. Juice already had a whole operation going on in his apartment back in Sun Valley. I had 10 towers. I was burning my own CDs, he reminded me. I didn't know the business, but I did want to try and get involved in it. I had the neighborhood Jays, Rob and Willie. They would be the people bagging the CDs up. So when you come in my spot, it's like the effing Carter. So much ish going on inside this apartment. Then on top of that, I got the neighborhood smokers bagging up the CDs and stuff. Everyone wanted to be independent, but I was just starting to put together my partnership deal with Atlantic Records. I was already there myself, but I wanted them to invest in my new label and my new artist. Juice was going to be one of them. All Juice wanted was for his name, Otis Williams Jr., to be on the back of the CD, which was fine by me. All I wanted was to be cut in somehow. I wanted this to be the start of me having a label. I wanted to be a CEO. So we had a meeting scheduled in New York City at Atlantic Records. I treated this label meeting like it was a job interview. We were asking these people to partner with us. I wanted my artists to look signed and have the label see the star quality that I saw in them. They had to look like they could walk into the meeting and then jump right into a photo shoot. In order to do that, we had to all look the part for the meeting and couldn't just show up in street clothes. That didn't look like money to me. So I took my buddy on a shopping spree for some new clothes and even gave him a watch from Jacob the jeweler. I hooked up Corvettes for both of us to drive up to New York City for our meeting. Like I said, I knew we had to look apart, but something went wrong along the way. After that meeting, Juice made a decision. He wasn't officially signing to my label. Instead, he was signing with my manager. For years, I didn't know what really happened. I didn't know what that deal was. I didn't know what was signed, but it felt effed up. I didn't even know my manager had ambitions of starting a record label. I know Juice did because he was already investing money into himself. He didn't really need to sign to either of us. But my thinking was, I have a good deal with these people. I'm going to turn you onto them. Even though I was fighting my own demons and numb most of the time, I had a lot of feelings about Juice's decision. I felt betrayed, especially since I put so much into trying to get Juice with me across the finish line. I also felt angry. Here I was taking a grown man shopping, even giving him a watch. But the truth is, I didn't know the whole story. So just like with Rocco, I wanted to talk to Juice myself after all that time. Me, I haven't talked to you in a couple of years. You know I'm always down for you, so why haven't you reached out to me? Juice had been on the interview circuit, and I guess I got in my feelings about how he described our situation. Like, we weren't cool anymore. Very few people can get me in my feelings like that. And even if they're in interviews talking about me, it doesn't matter. Let them talk. But with Juice, it was different. What he says matters to me. So when he talked like we weren't cool anymore, it hurt. He's my buddy. Straight up. Juice. We lost communication, so a lot of things were left unknown. I thought you weren't really effing with me. I didn't want to be a burden. It's hard to explain to someone you were so cool to. It's hard to explain to someone you were so cool to how large chunks of your memory are missing. It's also hard to express how your behavior might have given off this idea that you didn't want the other person around, when really you were wondering if you even wanted yourself around. Me. I don't remember all of the incidents, but I can tell you how I felt during those times and what I do remember from them. This is the story of two perspectives and how two people can see things in two different ways. Here I was with a deal with Atlantic Asylum Records. My manager wasn't even my manager for a full year. I had signed one artist already named Mac Breezy, but Juice wasn't signed to me. He had been building his buzz all on his own this whole time. I said to him, look, Juice, I want to sign you through this deal with these people that I'm already signed with. We are all going to go to the Gucci store and I'll buy us Gucci shoes. I knew Juice had his own money, but I did this on the strength, even with no signed contract. That was my buddy after all. And the first time he ever left Atlanta. Breezy had already signed with me, and so I paid for everyone's stuff. I didn't want us looking like we just came from trapping in the streets. I took off my watch and gave it to Juice. I said, you can have this Jacob watch. I've got two of them. This deal we're doing, we've got to look good to them. I got us those cold. I got us I got us those, goodness gracious. I got us those Corvettes. I had a pew pew in the car and was facing some serious issues with my cases, but I still did that because to me, I felt like I had to do what I had to do. Then I was later told that Juice wanted to sign directly with Asylum instead of with me. So now I was thinking he was acting funny. I spent all of this money only for Juice to want to be somewhere else. Then I came to find he'd signed with my manager instead. So the next time I saw Juice, I said, give me my watch back. He said it was at this place at the mall to get some diamonds replaced. I said, well, I want it back. I know he took that as spite, but he just signed with someone else. It's sensitive to me to this day because it put a wedge between me and my dream. My dream was to sign my childhood friend. We were going to be the next Joel Santana and Cameron. Okay? He saw me working under other CEOs, but it felt like he didn't see the CEO in me. I wanted to be a CEO, and I wanted that for you. You already made it before I even wanted to try to rap. Hell yeah, I wanted to sign with my buddy. Then why didn't you? Juice. I was just doing what I was told. You said, I'm going to get you this stuff, and we need to go into these white folks' building and look presentable. But when we got to New York, I was told by someone on the team that something went wrong. They said, Gucci told me, don't worry about getting juice, no more deal. Just see how much money they're going to give me. The next morning, they said, get up, we have to leave. Gucci's trying to leave you. This was my first time leaving Boulder Crest. I didn't know how to ride Amtrak. I didn't know how to ride Greyhound. I damn sure didn't know how to book no flight, so I had to go back with these folks. What I didn't know was that after I first bought my manager to Sun Valley to meet OJ, she reportedly went back there by herself. Juice. She said, don't sign with him. Let me get you to these white folks. He's not going to do you right. There was an added misunderstanding. On Juice's album, he wanted to be listed as the executive producer. I didn't even remember that conversation happening. If I did, I would have easily let him have that. That's a simple ask. I just figured if I took him to New York, it was understood that I agreed to all of his terms. But he was led in another direction, being told that what he wanted could be given to him by someone else, not me. Juice. She said, is that all you want? I can do that. Everyone knew my intentions with my labels, so I was mad at them all. I was mad at them all after that. From my team to my label. It made me bitter towards the music industry. I didn't know the extent of what I was going through mentally, but it felt like everyone was taking advantage of me, as if I was slow or something. I wasn't going to let that affect my friendship with Juice, though, or let some outside person get in the way. If he didn't want to sign with me, he was still going to be my friend, because I knew him before the music even happened. If Juice didn't think I could be his CEO, it hurt, but I still understood it because he if Juice didn't think I could be his CEO, it hurt. But I still understood it because Juice was a dude investing all of his own money too. I internalized a lot of what went down. For years, I felt like maybe I wasn't seen as good enough. There were things Juice reminded me of, like the way I'd robbed people and tricked people. Stuff I honestly don't remember. So if I was someone who saw my buddy robbing this person and that person and doing all of this stuff that I was doing, I don't think I'd want them handling my business either. In my mind, Juice had seen all of these bad things about me. So that's why he didn't want to do business with me. He wasn't the only person who felt that way. People thought, you don't know, I have too much invested to put my trust in you when you're not in the right frame of mind. Juice was hearing stories like Gucci is taking his shirt off on Boulder Crest and Gucci is looking out into space. That doesn't sound like a CEO. And yeah, I did still have a foot in the streets. I did look riskier to sign. White folks did look like a better bet. But the whole point was to take those meetings to get that money and build something ourselves. Everyone looked at New York rappers like they were so smart. It felt to me that they looked down on us Atlanta rappers like we couldn't measure up. In hindsight, it's like they really divided and conquered us. But to lose my buddy as an artist on my label, it cut me to my core. I didn't have many big dreams. Getting rich and getting a record label might seem big to the average person, but these were moves I knew I was going to do. But my dream was to take the person who'd stood beside me while we cleaned up cans and walked side by side in this industry. I wanted people to see Atlanta when they saw us. I wanted them to see trap music. I wanted them to see the success story of two childhood buddies who made their dreams a reality. And in my eyes, that was taken from me. I felt like it was taken by a person whom I put my trust in as a manager. Hold on, let me see how many. Okay, this is my last page. It was taken by my friend who was persuaded. And most of all, it was taken by me. I took too many drugs, held too many guns, had too many meltdowns. And so I looked like the risk. And thinking about it, it made me feel inadequate. I had to let Juice know that I was hurt by what went down. How I felt like after helping him try to reach his dreams, he went ahead and sided with someone else. And even if that other person seemingly manipulated him into that decision, he still made that decision himself. For me, it felt like one of the few people I could trust took advantage of me. Just like all of those other people did in the past when I was my most vulnerable. I think we were both operating from our own standpoints without knowing what was going on in the other person's head. In my defense, there were often too much going on in my head and then sometimes not enough. But while Gucci Mane was having his episodes, so was OJ the Juice Man in a different way. Vocabulary word gaslight. Part of speech verb. Definition manipulate someone using psychological methods into questioning their own sanity or powers of reasoning. I learned the meaning of the word gaslighting just a few years ago. But when I think about it, I've been gaslit my entire life. You don't have to be in the thick of a mental health episode to have your mind taken over and to be made to feel like you're crazy, even when you're not. The stress of the streets can be too much. So when there's an opportunity for you, you take it. We came from the mud. We watched poverty circulate all around us. We saw people pass. Juice almost passed his damn self. I don't know what I would have done if someone came to my hospital bed while I was knocking on death's door telling me that my buddy is strung out and can't function as a CEO. And all these white people won't take me seriously if I hang around him. I just don't know. It's a dilemma, but it's also a case study in mind control. When someone makes you feel like you can't trust them, they come to you more like a parent and less like an executive. They tell you they want what's best for you out of concern and care, out of care and concern. And that friend of yours with CEO pipe dreams is just one step away from crashing out. Juice and I were both victims, and we just didn't know it. I'm coming up on my, this is, give me a second. I put my cars in her name and she kept them. This is Gucci Mane, because, child. She ended up keeping a necklace. What is that, Diwali? My Diwali truck and a BMW. It was crazy to me. Juice, she pulled up in your Pepsi Cola Phantom one time and said, "You see what I buy? You don't waste your money on jewelry. I buy houses and expensive cars." Then she drove off with her feet out the window. Me, that Phantom was the only thing I had in my name. I had to hit my own personal rock bottom to really take inventory of what was happening in my life. I know that so much of it was beyond my control, but a lot of my problems were at the bottom of a styrofoam cup. I had to keep my hope alive, though. I had to remember that even if my dreams didn't go as planned, I was still going to win one way or another. That took a lot of trial and error, with a lot of mistakes in between. When Juice felt like too many people had robbed him in the music industry, he went right back to the only place he really knew: the streets. Trapping was second nature. This industry wasn't. So if he had to make money, then what was the only option? I didn't want that for Juice at all. He is too talented. There wasn't a specific argument that happened between Juice and me, as much as there was just a lot of dead air following some bad business and a whole lot of manipulation. We should have talked it out sooner, but our paths didn't cross. I had my own stuff that I was going through, and then after prison, I was focused on changing my life. Our situation was one of those things where two people just didn't really get what the other was going through. One thing I learned is that the story can always look different depending on the person telling it. My perception was impaired. My memory isn't the best. And of all the relationships that had been strained while I was going through my struggles, My friendship with Juice was the one I wanted to clear up the most. So I knew that one way or another, I had to let my buddy know that we were still cool, that we could talk, like we were still the same kids in Boulder Crest trying to come up, that we could be grown men sorting through our issues, that we could share a stage together and make more moments for ourselves and our fans, and that we can always make the trap say, hey. I got about 3 pages, two technically, like, let's just read the epilogue. So we have a vocabulary word, rebirth. Part of speech, noun. Definition number 1, the process of being reincarnated or born again. Definition number 2, the action of reappearing or starting to flourish or increase after a decline or revival. This is a quote from Drew. I want you to think about this, man. Here you are. There's a standing room only crowd out there chanting your name. And not only are you sober, not only are you not using, but dude, you're freaking throwing back a cup of coffee before you go out to the audience. Isn't that amazing? June 17, 2016. Tick, tick, tick. I only had about 5 minutes before I was about to head out on stage to perform at the Fox Theater in Atlanta for my big welcome home party. The spot holds about 4,700 people, and that night it felt like every space in the room was filled. I stood backstage with my lawyer, Drew, some buddies, and my wife. The club owner asked me what I wanted to drink before I got on stage. Coffee, I replied. Drew smiled at me. I'm proud of you, he said. What a difference the contents of a styrofoam cup can make. Sometimes my life still surprises me in the way that I turned it all around. But other times I know that it was God's plan all along for me. I had to lose parts of myself to gain the rest of my life back. That's not easy to do. It's a conscious decision. It takes a lot to transform and turn yourself around. You need the will to do it. You need the will to live. I'm lucky to say that I made it out on the other side. And I mourn those who didn't have that luxury. There have been so many milestones in my life since I changed it. I married my wife on October 17, 2017, and we have 2 kids together, my son Ice and my daughter Iceland. I've started a new record label, and I continue to find talent and release my own music. I get to keep making art and keep promoting art. It's all that I've ever wanted. My favorite full circle moment was in 2023 when I filmed my Married with Millions video at the Palms Casino Resort in Las Vegas. There I was in that same $25,000 room with my wife and our two kids. 14 years prior, I was there recording Lemonade, and I had no memories of it because I was so high and headed right to rehab. That lack of memory was replaced by this wonderful one. That suite has gigantic rooms, a recording studio, a bowling alley, and a private pool. All of it. Things that didn't impress me as much before because I was too numb to feel now. Give me a second. Things that didn't impress me as much before because I was too numb to feel now made me smile with pride. I was taking it all in with the people that I loved the most. Who knew that life could change so much in those years? Everything is so different for me now. My values are different. Every morning, my wife makes sure that I take my medicine as soon as I wake up. Before, I used to fight her on it and be stubborn, thinking that a day or two without it won't make much of a difference. I know now that it can change everything. I've learned that lesson. Every morning, I run on the beach. I lift my weights and I eat right. I talk to a therapist. I take my son to school and I watch both of my kids while my wife builds her own empire. Late nights at the studio are saved for rare occasions. And no matter what, I get as much rest as possible. I'll be already at work by 7 a.m., taking calls with my team and building my business. This is my new routine. And this is what helps keep me on the right path. I have no desire to pick up lean or pills ever again. I know firsthand what it can do to you. I love reading books again, and I love writing them. I love remembering how smart I am because there was a time when nobody had that confidence in me. I didn't even have it in myself. I still have the videos to remind me, though. The photos, the mugshots, even the music. It's all there as a memory of who I once was in a place that I never plan on going back. When you don't know what's going on with your brain, it's a scary place to be. You feel like you're standing in the middle of a war zone, waiting for another landmine to go off if you make one wrong move. You're helpless. And when the lights go out, you don't know what the condition of the disaster will be when they come back on. It took me years to come to terms with what was happening with me and the parts that I played in making it worse. I guess my mission now is to tell everyone the things that I wish people had told me. I think about Scar and Chant and Quan, people who should be here today, but didn't make it to the other side. I told these stories for them, so that maybe someone else who is in their shoes, who is in our shoes, can feel better about what's happening. Maybe they won't beat themselves up so much or feel the shame that I did whenever I woke up the next day. Maybe they will get the help they need and they can understand a little bit better what's going on. Maybe they can have the hope that they'll make it out okay because they look at me and see that it's possible. I was in one of the worst positions outside of death itself. And here I am today as a living testimony that you can survive. I'm just so grateful I can do that. There were times when it was touch and go. But here we are. Here I am. My mental health is my priority now because without it, my family doesn't get to lead a peaceful life. I know that there's still a balance to strike in order to maintain that peace. So if all I have to do is take care of myself, then that's the least I can do for them. They deserve that peace more than I do. I owe them my entire life. They saved me. Y'all, I flipped the page like it was something else. Y'all, that's the last. They saved me. And then let me get to the acknowledgments. Okay, Gucci Man. Thank you to my co-author. Okay, because this is his acknowledgments to Kathy Ian Doley for helping me articulate this story and getting everything out that was on my mind and these feelings off my chest. Thank you to my wife, Mrs. Davis, for giving me the idea to write this book and not be ashamed to talk about my mental health challenges. I really hope this book helps somebody. Sincerely, Radrick, Gucci Mane Davis. Kathy N. Doley. Thank you to Gucci Mane for trusting me with this incredible story. It's an honor to work with you. Thank you to Robert, whoever that is, and Sterling, whatever them last names is. I'm not going to be doing all that for everything as always. Thank you to Yadon, Israel, Khalid, McCullough, and the whole team, and Simon and Schuster for making for making this book a reality. I think it's Simon and Schuster. We got to the end, you guys. We got to the end. Hugs. Hugs. We got to the end. We made it to the end. Oh my goodness. It was touch and go. Look, talk about touch and go, child. That book was touch and go, honey. But he did sum it up very well at the end. I was so proud of him. And like I said, you know how it is. So ready to go and lay down. It's 2:16. I mean, we finished. The book is done. We got all the way to the end, and we are so thankful to have this this mental transformation. You know, that's the beauty of reading a book. You know, because you can be so critical and you can be so judgmental and I mean just so over the top, and then once you get to the end it's like, oh, that's what I needed it to do. That's what I needed it to do. That's what I was looking for. That's what I was hoping that the book would provide me with, this sense of not only just awareness, but I really wanted to hone in on, you know, the behind the scenes in regards to like what people actually go through when they're actually experiencing episodes. It's I can't say it's like a scary place, but it's kind of like it's very dark, and not just like sadistic dark, but it's literally dark because they don't know, you don't know, and so you try to understand like what happened, what's going on. You have all these questions, all of these concerns, and so I just, as soon as I heard that he had wrote a book and he actually had a book coming out, it just brought me back to that full circle moment when he wrote that book, whatever the title of it was, child. It's up there on the top of the it's up there on top of the shelf. His second book. And it's like, it's so calming. It's so relaxing. But that's just the beauty of like reading a good book and that sense of release and relief. It's like, wow, who knew that's exactly what I needed? So I'm going to take this Zen because I'm in a complete state of Zen right now. If you can't tell, like I'm in a complete state of Zen. Like, oh man, it feels so amazing. Not just to only to complete the book, but to actually experience that mental shift, that mind shift. It actually feels totally amazing in a life-changing way. And so we will watch the interview, Breakfast Club interview. I want to say maybe tomorrow we'll catch up on Candace because I am so behind. She dropped a video yesterday. She dropped a video today. We're going to be playing catch up over the weekend. Because we have tonight and then we have Saturday night, which is technically like November. And so, but remember, we're getting ready to hibernate. So we're going to be gone technically tonight. You know, like, so I shouldn't necessarily say that I'm coming back. I shouldn't necessarily say that I'm coming back tonight, since we've finished the book, to be quite honest. Because that's a part of, and I'll just have to watch her on my own time. Look, I'm like, that's the part of hibernating. You have to give it a break. And we went hard for Vlogtober. There was a lot going on. And so, see what I mean? Like, now we gotta chill, we gotta relax, we gotta rest, we gotta prep. So, but in the meantime, in between time, I appreciate your time here. I'm headed in. I'm finna wrap it up. Mwah, 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 mwah.